Right, India and the United States of America have agreed on a trade agreement, a key inflection point in strategic ties between both the countries. US has agreed to cut tariffs on Indian goods to 18%, which is down from rates as high as 50% during recent tensions. Well, Trump announced the deal on social media last night following a call with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, noting that India would now buy oil from the US and potentially even from Venezuela. Prime Minister Modi thanking Trump on social media, calling the deal beneficial, and said that cooperation between the world's two largest democracies will unlock opportunities for both the countries. Now, through this agreement, which is being hailed as the father of all deals, the reciprocal tariffs imposed on India have been lowered to 18%. While securing breathing room for domestic reforms and securing export gains for Indian manufacturing and services as well. But India, on the other hand, has made it clear that there will be no compromise on interests of Indian farmers and that India will continue to prioritize its people when it comes to energy purchases. Remember, Trump had announced in his post that India will stop buying Russian oil. All right, let's now take a listen into this conversation between the US Ambassador to India, Sergio Gore, and my colleague Vishnu Sood.
Ambassador Gore, is this premised on India buying Venezuelan and American oil as a way of, India stopping the import of Russian oil?
I don't want to get into too many details. I'll let the trade negotiators announce those specific details. The one thing I will say is both the Prime Minister and the President have supported bringing this conflict in Russia and Ukraine to an end. And so that's something that both sides have been in agreement on over a long time. The Prime Minister wants to see peace over there also, as does the President. And so tonight is a night to celebrate that this deal is now behind us. To put it into perspective, I will share with you that the European Union and India took 19 years to negotiate the deal. And so, people were saying, why is this taking so long? It didn't take anywhere as close or as long as the European Union. So we're thrilled by that. And again, I will say that is because of the leadership of the Prime Minister and the President.
Just a point of clarification. The tariffs have come down to 18%. So, in other words, the additional tariffs placed on India's import of Russian oil have also gone away. So the total tariffs right now stand at 18%. Is that right?
The total tariff will be 18%, and that will be finalized over the next few days. There's some items that need to get signed, but the total tariffs will be at 18%.
Let's now tell you what India gains from this historic deal. Now, US reciprocal tariffs right now has been cut from 50% to 18%. That's the cut down. Now, this means faster access for Indian exports to the US market. Export gains for Indian manufacturing and services as well. Apart from this, energy security through diversified oil and gas sources. Energy diversification also will reduce geopolitical risks. And the other aspect of what India has gained from this historic deal is the fact that it secures breathing room for domestic reforms as well, and it emerges as a deal maker after twin trade deals. Not just that, global diplomatic edge on Russia-Ukraine war, also long-term stability in bilateral trade relations. These are some of the aspects as to how India gains. Now, let's tell you what government sources has told NDTV. Number one, that's what is exclusively here on NDTV, that zero compromise on interests of Indian farmers. The priority of Indian farmers, of all the Indians, have been kept atop. So that's the first aspect. Number two, sensitive dairy and agriculture sectors will be protected. Number three, India will continue prioritizing its people in energy purchases as well. Also, India committed to purchasing energy from non-sanctioned entities as well. And source also telling NDTV that India-US bilateral trade that will increase 5x over next few years towards $500 billion. And lastly, massive economic value to be unlocked in this new trade deal between India and the US, which is now being hailed as the father of all deals. So, with this tariff reduction on India from 50 to 18%, let's now tell you, where do other countries stand? India, like I told you, is at 18%. Apart from that, Brazil is at 50%. That's a tariff imposed by the US on Brazil, 50%. China is at 37%. Moving on to Canada, 35%. South Africa, 30%. And Vietnam at 20%. There's more. European Union is at 15%, Japan at 15% as well, and the United Kingdom clearly at 10%. So India, of course, has an upper edge when compared to other countries here. Well, my colleague Aditya has been tracking the story very closely. He's now joining me live. Aditya, while we have been talking about how this is the father of deal between both the countries, shed some light on how historic this deal is and how this deal will open new opportunities for workers in both the countries and also will position India on an upper platform when compared to the other countries.
Well, definitely, this is a massive development between India and United States. This deal has been under talks and negotiations for last several months. You can imagine that the India-EU, the mother of all deals, took about 19 years of negotiation and talks. But when it comes to the US-India deal, it took merely months. Of course, there were various twists and turns. There were pressure tactics that were applied. A lot of commentary from, Howard Lutnick and Peter Navarro from the United States as well. But finally, the deal has been clinched. It's a win-win diplomatic situation, and 20 years of strategic partnership now taken to another level. When it comes to Russian oil, that has been a bone of contention, really, because India spoke about strategic autonomy and the concerns of the Indian masses that needs to be met first, and that would be the top priority always for the government of India. Now, top sources in the government of India continuing with that strategic autonomy point and saying that energy demands nationally would only be met with the best kind of pricing that India deserves. It came from Russia, so India went to Russia. If it comes from Venezuela or US, India will move towards that. The tariffs have been slashed drastically, from 50% to 18% now, and there will be a huge market access also mutually for India and the United States. Of course, the nitty-gritties and the technical points will be revealed maybe in a few hours from now. There's a press conference of Piyush Goyal, also India's Minister for Commerce and Industry. In a few minutes from now, will he spill the beans on the technical aspects of the trade deal that was finally arrived at between New Delhi and DC? All eyes on that big PC. He was slated to speak inside the parliament, but there was an adjournment because of the showdown within the parliament between the opposition and the government. So as of now, it's a win-win situation for United States and India. And all we are waiting now for is the signing ceremony of the deal and how this is finally going to be implemented, perhaps in a phased manner, and perhaps be beneficial for both the people of America and India.
Absolutely, Aditya. It's a win-win deal for India and the United States of America. We'll, of course, be tracking that presser from India's Commerce Minister in just moments from now. But thanks for getting us the latest. Let's tell you more about the big winners when it comes to the India-US trade deal, father of all deals. That's what it is being called. Number one, consumer exporters. These are the big winners of the trade deal. So by that we mean packaged food and rice exports. They benefit. Then the second aspect is that it leads to incremental export growth from India towards the United States of America and also improved competitiveness in the foreign market. Let's also now tell you about how this is a historic deal. It's been perhaps 5 deals in 12 months. We've given you a lowdown of the big winners and the impact that it will have. Let's now tell you about how 5 key deals have been inked in the last 12 months. The first was in July 2025. This was the CETA with the United Kingdom. Second was in December last year, that is between India and Oman. The second deal was the India-Oman Economic Partnership Agreement. Moving on to the third deal, India-New Zealand FRA. And then, of course, before this father of all deals was inked, just few days ago, India also inked a historic mother of all deals with the European Union, which happened in January. That's the India-EU Free Trade Agreement. Again, a big win for India. And the latest, the fifth deal, which has been inked in the last 12 months. It is the India-US trade deal. So, this is a lowdown of all the 5 deals inked in the last 12 months. Let's now take you through the big winners when it comes to the trade deals. Let's tell you more about the big winners. I'll ask my producer to shift to that wall. Okay, so the first is the United States of America, 28% of India's textile exports. What's the impact? Faster order recovery. And that's the impact of the first aspect, leading to margin expansion. Moving on to improved export competitiveness as well. So these are the big winners, the textiles and the apparels. Then we also have the second sector, which is the US key shrimp and frozen food market. So what's the impact here of the US key shrimp and frozen food market? First impact is that better pricing. Second, volume recovery. And third, stable export demand. Well, the third sector which has emerged, the big winner, is the auto and auto ancillaries. Let's tell you more about them. US OEM linkage. Then it also strengthens position as cost-efficient hub. What's the impact here? First impact is sustained order inflows. The second impact, margin support. And lastly, long-term export visibility. So Aditya is still here with us. Aditya, if I had to ask you which sector perhaps emerged as a big winner, of course, you've given our viewers a lowdown of all the key sectors, but talk to us more about how this deal is a win-win for both India and the United States of America.
Well, it gives more market access. It's a long-term export visibility, as you rightly pointed out, for India as well as for the United States. And of course, there would be important details that will come out in that press conference of Piyush Goyal as to how the reduction of the tariffs is a massive boost for trade as well. Remember, every year there are thousands of students that go to study there, but also there are a lot of skilled workers from India going to United States. And let's remember that this year has been a year of trade deals for India. It began from the United Kingdom sometime in July last year and then went on to New Zealand, to Oman, and to the mother of all deals, the India-EU deal, and of course, the India-US deal now. What we are being told now is that Canada is very eager to begin the CEPA agreement with India as well, and that would be on cards when Mark Carney perhaps visits India between Feb and March of 2026, and there would be visits from the Indian Commerce Minister and Finance Minister also to Canada. But the mother of all deals, apart from the India-EU deal, has been the India-US deal as well, from oil to exports to imports, everything drastically changing, the dynamics changing completely. Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke this morning about this particular deal that has been achieved between Trump and Modi administration, and what he focused on was that patience finally pays off. India was criticized, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was criticized on this trade deal, the kind of barbs that India faced from the US administration, but finally India has prevailed. He also stressed and focused on the fact that India's manufacturing is going to get a huge boost. So that clearly indicates that the Make in India initiatives of the government of India, the Atmanirbhar Bharat that Prime Minister has been speaking about over the layers, will get a huge boost. So we are awaiting that press conference from Piyush Goyal. Jai Shankar, India's External Affairs Minister, is also in DC. He's going to attend the Critical Minerals Ministerial in a few hours from now as well. So a lot of hectic activities both in New Delhi and DC as we talk about the big talking point on the US-India deal.
But absolutely, Aditya, and Prime Minister Modi also said that the India-US trade deal was a big decision.